$1 million. Free to play. You just need to survive. It's the Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Pick one team to win each week. Get it right, move on. Get it wrong, you're out. The last fan standing take home a guaranteed $1 million cash prize. And for every player who joins, we add $1 to the pot, up to $10 million. The Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Play free on the Fanatics app. App access open to all. Must be 21 plus and joined by 9/8 to play. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. Void where prohibited. Subject to complete terms. See fanatics.com/game rules.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The left versus the right.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And let's be heard. The immortal words of Bob Grant. Remember him, Tony?
Of course I remember Bob Grant.
Oh, man. Talk radio started in 1971, and most people don't know he started on WMCA. Remember that? That used to be the good guys.
I don't remember WMCA.
Yeah, well, when they got rid of their music format and went to talk radio, and he was one of the people they brought in. But we're here on the left versus the right. I'm here with my good friend, Tony Carbonetti, back by popular demand. You will not believe the mail that came in after the last time.
Mostly hate mail, probably.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. My mother keeps writing you. Is that what it is?
I want to start by turning your attention to an article from 2 days ago on Thursday, September 4th, New York Post. And it was an article talking about the police and how they have basically mapped out who the gang members are in the city. They know who they are, and they have a device that keeps record of it. Now, Mamdani has said in the past, I guess, 3 days that he wants to get rid of that. He doesn't want any compilation because since most of the gang members are black, that it's basically racist to do that. But what he leaves out is that most of the victims of gang violence are black. So you would think that people in that neighborhood would be very happy that somebody is watching so that you don't have the crime rate going up. Well, now, my question to you is, it seems like every 3 days the assemblyman says something like this, and it doesn't seem, nothing seems to happen when he does it. It's almost the way Democrats would complain about things that President Trump said back even when he wasn't president. But, nothing bad ever seemed to happen to him. But this is like in reverse, and this is far, far more dangerous.
Well, he doesn't get, quote, canceled until Election Day. Right now, he has that mantle, and he's being afforded the as if he's already mayor. Okay, he's being afforded that deference.
Right.
So until Election Day, when he loses, and I keep predicting he will lose more substantially than people think, okay, because this is not a socialist city, but that's when they have his day of reckoning. But to address what you just said, the people that I'll bet are opposed to that program don't live in those neighborhoods. It's always the people that don't live in the housing projects that complain about policing the housing projects. It's the people that don't live in high crime neighborhoods that complain about the police in high crime neighborhoods. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The people in those neighborhoods are saying, help us. We want police presence. We want to stop the violence. We want to stop shootings. And we want to stop the muggings. Please, someone come help us. And it's other people in the liberal neighborhoods that think they know better, that want to tell those people, oh, you don't need help. The cops are too harsh, or, you don't need them.
And even as we try to get past this kind of elitist sophistry that these people, such as the Assemblyman Mamdani, believe, they aren't bringing us any remedies or any activities that are going to lower the crime rate. Everything they're suggesting is actually is raising the crime rate if he is put into office.
Yeah, and again, getting back to what you just mentioned, the gang members, and it was the late Bernie Kerik, when he was corrections commissioner, that started the program of photographing the gang tattoos to identify these guys as well. When they were at Rikers Island, they started to keep a record of the inmates and their gang tattoos.
Very clever.
And you'd be amazed at how many other crimes you can catch people for, because the photo of their face might be a little blurry, but these 7 tattoos he has on his neck and his arm all match
pretty
this guy.
Significant, yes.
Exactly. So that was actually rather ingenious, and I think they kept that going, and that's the database you build on.
Right.
Don't go to jail.
Now, also, a couple of days ago in the New York Post is an article about a conversation that was held between President Trump and our great friend John Catsimatidis about the president's anxiety about what the election might bring. And in this conversation, the president basically suggested that he's going to create a deadline of 10 days or whatever short period of time for this situation to be remedied. And obviously the solution would be if some of the other candidates get out of the race. The current mayor, Eric Adams, his name seems to be at the top of the list for discussion about him leaving the race. And hopefully if he does have to do that, that he would leave in a very responsible and diplomatic way. Then we come to the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, who has done well staying out of the fracases these days and seems to be sitting in a good position as his poll numbers have increased and his appearances and workload is now commensurate with what a candidate should be, not where he was sitting around kind of just boycotting all these events. And that's probably contributing to why he lost the primary, but he's got a shot. And then we come to the continuing head of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Lewa, who is feeling that his 28% in 2021, when he lost to Eric Adams, that he can keep all the 28% and build on it, which I don't think I necessarily agree with, but he is there. And the factor that he brings to the conversation is that if he has a significant enough number, he is drawing from Cuomo and Adams and clearing the way for Mamdani.
What's to unpack there?
Sorry about that.
Let's start with, I guess, the current mayor, who currently sits in 4th place in what's now a field of 4, correct?
Yes. The 5th candidate knocked himself out.
Right. So the only time I have ever seen number 4 become number 1, I was in Salt Lake City at a speed skating Olympic race. And I swear to you, you can go Google, YouTube this. In the finals, the guy that was in 4th place, the last lap, they're making a turn, and the guy in 1st place catches his skates, knocks out the 2nd and 3rd place guys, and the guy in 4th place stands up and wins a gold medal.
Skates to victory.
Okay. That ain't happening here. I hate to tell the mayor that, but it's not a skating race in Salt Lake City in 2002. He's not winning. And I think he's realizing that. I hope he's realizing that. And it becomes a matter of how does he exit? You can continue to run and lose, and then you're a loser. Or you can gracefully exit and become a statesman and be afforded the accoutrements of being an ex-mayor around the city as being the guy that did the right thing for the city. And I hope that's a decision he makes. Because, I like the mayor. I'd like to see him continue to do the right thing for the city, which is now looking at the scoreboard and saying, I can't get there.
It's a hard issue to confront because most candidates believe in themselves and they fight through criticism and they fight through, poor characterizations in the media, but there comes a time you have to sit and have that conversation with yourself. And I had to do that, Tony, in 2010.
Yeah. I've been in that room with Giuliani during the presidential.
Yes.
And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to lose the Florida primary. Go see John McCain. I want to endorse him. And
very
the
classy.
second he was out, he's like, I'm on John's. That we got to go do this. Let's go help him. And Rudy saw that. And he said, that's who I am. That's who I want to be.
In my case, I told my wife the night before I was going to make the announcement. And she was very disappointed. And, we went back and forth about this. And finally, she said, so what is so bad that's going to happen if you stay in? I said, I'm going to be indicted. She said, for what? I said, I haven't the slightest idea, but I know that it's going to happen. And if I avoid it, it's never on my record. And I can come back and do things years from now. And that's how it worked out. Now, I know who did it to me, and they're getting theirs right now. But I won't say who it was.
It always
Tony.
comes around.
Yeah, I won't say who it was, but their initials are Barack Obama. Anyway, the point is that that this situation for him is difficult because he's sitting mayor right now. He lives in Gracie Mansion. It's a hard thing to do, but he may actually have to do it. My feeling is, if any one of those three candidates just gets up, tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday and says, I'm out, they become kind of a folk hero. They step back to stop socialism. We saw John Catsimatidis speaking on Fox the other day about stopping socialism. If any one of those candidates gets out, it enhances the ability of a person that can really act as mayor, who has the experience, who has governed before, that they will have, I think, a much greater opportunity.
I do disagree with you slightly. I do not think if Andrew Cuomo got out that Eric Adams wins. I do think if Eric Adams gets out, Andrew Cuomo wins.
Interesting.
I don't think the Cuomo voters go running to Eric Adams.
Where do they go?
I think some of them just outright stay home. And Adams does not have that appeal. I think it's run its course. And if anything, you might actually have Cuomo voters going to Curtis, going back to because there are a significant number of Cuomo voters who are registered Republicans. That people aren't recognizing that. Andrew, last time he ran for governor in New York City, got 1.7 million votes.
I remember you pointing this out on this show about
to put that in
6 weeks
comparison,
ago.
Eric Adams got 750,000 last time he ran for mayor. So apples to apples, 1.7 million to 750,000. Both times the Republican got 310 or 312,000. So the Republican number's been the same, but Andrew outperforms most. In fact, Hochul 4 years later got 1.2 million. So Andrew outperforms the average Democrat. Now, I know he's had his troubles and his scandal. If he gets half of that 1.7 million,
850,000.
He wins.
Wow.
It's simple math. But he doesn't bleed voters to Adams.
That's understandable now that you've explained it. What did I think before you said it? I just wasn't sure what was going to happen if he got out.
No, the bigger number doesn't bleed towards the smaller number. Andrew's 20% or 20-something percent doesn't go to the guy with 9. It'll split between Curtis and the mayor.
And the mayor.
And I think, some of them might just do nothing.
So it's really in Andrew's best interest to stay the course, to correct the errors that were made in the primary, and to be vigilant about the...
He's got to stay the course. He's got to make it now. Because remember, the primary, he lost by 130,000 votes. Okay? That's it. 130,000 with no Republicans and no independents. When you add Republicans and independents, How many of those votes you think Mamdani's getting? Not many.
I agree with you.
And he makes up that 130 in a snap.
I agree with you. He is in a very, very advantageous position right now. Adams, as we said, is probably, he's going to wake up one morning and he's going to have that moment that you described Mayor Giuliani having, that moment that I had to face at one point. Question, Curtis Sliwa, how does his presence or non-presence affect the vote?
Curtis has a base. The Republican has had roughly 310 to 318,000 votes the last 3 cycles. And as I've said, that's out of 1 million voters, or 1.1 million, because the number's like 28%, okay? So out of the first 1.1 million voters, the Republican, it was Curtis, it was Malliotakis, it was Loda. Those are your last 3 Republican.
Right.
They all got that roughly 27, 28%, okay? There's been 1.1 million voters. I'm assuming we have 1.5 million this time. I think there'll be a big turnout. When you get to that 1.5, and I've told Curtis this, you don't get 28% of the next 500,000 or 400,000.
You get a real low number.
A really low number, because you've bled through all the Republicans and the conservative, and you now have Democrats. And those Democrats are going to have a minimum two other Democrats to choose from before they even get to you. So they're never going to make it to you. So he's getting a very low amount of that. I think he drops down to 16%-ish. I'd like to see him step back and ultimately end up with 170,000 votes, because that 130,000 would bleed to Cuomo. Whatever Curtis bleeds is going to Cuomo. He's not bleeding any votes to Zoran.
No, not at all. We can be assured of that.
Right.
And in terms of just the ability to get through this period right now, we're in September, and a whole lot can happen. And there's a whole lot of conversation about which way it could actually go. It's looking to me like the inertia is toward former Governor Cuomo.
It is, because he's a proven vote getter. He's a proven governor. I don't mean big G, little g. We know he can do the job, okay? Curtis is a guy who is very passionate about New York City, likes people, loves animals. You can see he's got a big heart, okay? Can he manage a $120 billion budget? I
think if he could manage 16 animals in his home, that he could
that
manage
just proves he's a big-hearted person.
$120 billion budget.
And like I said, you want Curtis in your foxhole because he's a nice man and he loves New York City. Okay, I don't know if I want to hand him a $120 billion budget. You know the Governor Cuomo can do that. Okay, you know we're not going to skip a beat. And I think, by the way, that we have hardship coming up. I think we have a $6 to $8 billion budget deficit that no one's talking about. You know, they were COVID patching up numbers for the last several years.
Right.
You know, there was money falling out of the COVID sky.
So by July 1st of next year, somebody better get in there and
somebody go find $6 to $8 billion.
Right. And the city council does not operate as if there is a deficit at any point.
And this is a different conversation. I tell everyone that term limits was detrimental to New York City, because would you invest in a company that had a $120 billion budget that didn't have a 10-year plan? No. You'd say that's crazy. You have to have a 10-year plan.
Right.
Well, no one in New York City is here for more than 8 by Constitution. So why would they have a 10-year plan? No one in the city council thinks past their hand. Actually, it's 5 years, because they get reelected. They're looking for another job. Okay? After the first 4, they get reelected.
Right.
Where's my next job?
Right.
Okay? I don't believe that anyone looks into the future and worries about anything.
We're talking with Tony Carbonetti. He is the former chief of staff to Mayor Giuliani, very active in his presidential campaign, and one who doesn't just speak without coming with pure evidence. And we're going to hear more of it right after we take a break here on The Left versus the Right, here on WABC Radio, 770 on your dial. And we'll be right back.
The Left versus the Right on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
The Left versus the Right.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Tony Carbonetti is our guest. David Paterson is your host. You're on The Left versus the Right here on WABC 770, 77. We had a big party to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the country, Tony, and also the fact that WABC Radio is number one in New York, in the country, and according to John Catsimatidis, also on 3 other planets.
I think John's going to work on Space Force and get on the dial. You know, the Space Force have AM radio. We got to check on that and see if he can
pre-program
ABC on that Space Force radio.
Exactly. But to that end, just in complimenting John, and I'm a big radio listener because I couldn't read the newspaper, so I've been a radio listener since I was a little kid. But he took away these 4-hour talk shows where all the host did was complain. And even when they had good ratings, you just get tired of the rhetoric over and over again. He stopped this situation where you had these people calling in and they were just disrupting the show. So very few of the shows ever take calls from the public. Now, it doesn't sound great, but if you're listening to the show, it is great. And just so many changes that have really revolutionized the industry. He has 4 guests in the studio with him on his 5 o'clock show every day. So not only does he have the 4 guests, but he has 5 or 6 people he interviews. So there are 11 people getting a chance to speak, but they only have 1 hour to do it. And somehow they come in on time every day. So it's just amazing the kind of work. Now, I've known John a long time. I've known him since, I guess, 2006, something like that. And I never knew he had any interest in radio until, I started noticing that he was making these changes. And when he shifted from another station that didn't, have much of an audience or rating to buying WABC, that's when this incredible change occurred. And we're all very proud to be a part of it.
I don't know if you know this or not. I'm the guy that brought him WABC.
You are?
Yes.
Why didn't you tell me that before the show? No, I'm kidding.
A friend of mine was thinking about buying it. So I actually got smart on the numbers. And I looked at it, and it was losing $1 million a year.
Right.
And John, also an old friend of mine, and being a civic-minded guy, he once said to me, I was going to buy the Daily News, but it loses $40 million a year. If it was only losing $1 million a year, I probably would have bought it. And that stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So I called up John, and I said, John, I got something for you that's only losing $1 million a year. And he goes, what is it? And in that first call, he says, Tony, I want to do this.
Wow.
And then he started negotiating with them. And I don't know what the numbers are today in terms of how much, but forget about dollars and cents. The passion the man has, it makes me proud. He really jumped into this. He really cares about it. And he cares about, like you just said, giving people a voice and giving people different opinions to listen to. And that's really nice to see. I mean, so I'm actually proud that I brought it to him. And, I don't know whether it makes money or doesn't make money. I don't think he cares. He's doing his civic duty. And I'm very proud to see that. I love that he loves it so much.
Well, the thing that is also interesting about this station is that on the weekends, in fact, later today, Vinny Madunio comes on and Cousin Brucey comes on.
He's brought back the classics.
He's brought back the classics. And these shows are drawing an audience who, was basically driven off the radio because of just incessant talk radio or nothing really. People listen to sports on the radio. That they do.
Yeah.
They do. But he's now got people going back and playing having the DJs that they grew up with and having them play the music that they're used to. And they're all, our age. And so, it's pretty familiar. And I don't know who came up with that idea, but it was simply brilliant.
It was probably John because he has a feeling for what people want. And like I said, it's nice to see he's incredibly passionate about the station. He's never once told me, don't talk about this or don't talk about that. He says, get up there and say what you feel. He goes, that's what people want to hear. They want to hear other people's opinions. We don't get enough of that.
That is for sure. But we sure get it right here on WABC, where we are the left versus the right. We have to think about something to fight about one day, or they'll kick us both off this show.
We need to call in. That's what we need someone to call in
let's
and argue with us.
Taking in some
we
call.
We can beat them up.
That'll do it. That'll get this audience.
When Giuliani used to have his call-in show, there was a guy that would call up, the ferret guy, and he was trying to make ferrets pets or something. And Rudy was like, they're weasels. We're not going to make them pets. They're little squirmy rats. And he would always argue. It was very entertaining for the rest of us because this weasel guy would get him all ginned up. It was like...
Well, he was very good on the shows he moderated. He just has a knack for it.
It was actually something because when you're mayor and you can actually solve people's problems... a woman would call up in the beginning of the show with a complaint. By the end of the show, there was 2 people at her house from the housing preservation trying to help her with her.
Wow.
Every commissioner was on duty when the show started, knowing they're going to get a phone call in the middle of the show saying, go handle this. And he loved that. And
it really was a microcosm of what government wants to do.
Yes.
And doesn't always have the apparatus, but if you have the people to solve the problems, the intake isn't hard. There are always, situations that come up that people, wish to address, and the radio was a perfect vehicle for that.
Absolutely.
What year was that he was doing those shows?
He started the days in '94 when he got elected. He got elected in '93, took over in January of '94. So right away he started doing the monthly shows.
Wow.
It was monthly on CBS and weekly on ABC, I believe it was.
Wow. Well, that was really...
and then we did monthly town hall meetings. in every neighborhood in the city. And those are always fun because you want to talk about politics being local. People, when they have the mayor in their district, they don't care about the rest of the city. It is literally the bakery, the pothole, the manhole cover.
Yes.
This floods every time it rains. I mean, you get every local nook and cranny of New York City when the mayor comes to your neighborhood.
Yeah, they talk about, the streets need to be repaved and all kinds
just
of,
my little neighborhood.
Yes.
That's all I care about. You know?
Absolutely.
And it should be.
And it was funny because when I was in the state Senate, which was the first public office I held, I used to really get annoyed about exactly that. People could care less what was going on the block next to theirs.
Yep.
But, if a tree fell on their block, it was like a major
100%
catastrophe. And you, meaning me, better do something about it. And finally, because, you like discussing the issues in healthcare and crime and unemployment or whatever the issues are. But it's those little things that happen around you that if you don't keep abreast of them or get your staff over there to do something about it, you're just not going to you're not going to be successful.
Think about it. If you have a local park where all of the basketball court rims are torn down and all the park benches are broken, you don't want to see a report on the statistics of citywide parks, how well they're doing.
Right.
Mine's broken.
Yes.
Fix mine. Don't tell me how good all the other parks are doing. Right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
There was a park, it's 120th Street in Harlem. And
Marcus Garvey or
Marcus Garvey Park.
Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
Marcus
And
Garvey.
the basketball rims have been torn down. So I'll never forget this. So, I was a state senator and I contacted the mayor's office and they came over to, do something about it. When I went to the park, when they were done, they put the rims in a foot higher than they were supposed to be. And we had to bring them back to bring the rims down. And, and of course, as soon as people went back to that park and so the rims were a foot higher than they were supposed to be, the first person they thought of was me because I was the one that said, "Don't worry, I'm going to fix it." So that was a little egg on my face that I received, in my first couple of years.
Sometimes we do a little damage when we fix things,
Yeah, exactly. Now, overall, how do you think this mayor's race affects the statewide races next year and really the presidential race in 2028?
I think it has national implications. I believe that, first of all of the cities that a progressive has won, Baltimore, D.C., Boston, Chicago,
Los Angeles,
L.A., San Fran, all of those cities are underfunded cities in terms of they don't have the riches and largesse that New York City has. My fear is a progressive taking over New York City, this becomes now the testing ground for every crazy socialist idea because the city actually has the money to fund it. You want to give every homeless guy their own portable tent and they can, or like they did in San Francisco, build parking lots for you to park your homeless car in. The city we have a $118 billion budget. $1 billion is a rounding error, okay?
Right.
So my fear is that this becomes then the petri dish by which all the crazy socialist ideas will start to ferment. And that leads you to what AOC does. Right now, she's traveling the country with Bernie Sanders. Bernie is trying to hand off his 22% of the Democratic primary voters to AOC. If Mamdani wins, I think she runs directly for president. Just goes for it. If Mamdani loses, she challenges Chuck for the Senate seat and tries to take that.
Very interesting. Wow. I have always felt that the activist, sort of progressive side of the Democratic Party have been successful in primaries, have beaten people who had been in those seats for, 10 to 12 years. But that in general elections, they are just not going to round up more than half the population to believe some of the ideals that they promote and the inability to explain where the resources are going to come to support it.
Well, you're going to find this hard to believe, but after someone's in Congress for 3, 4, 5 terms, they tend to get lazy when it comes to their primary. No one ever runs against them. Crowley, when he lost to AOC, first of all, the New York Times had never done an article on AOC. She didn't exist. What they did was they looked at Crowley and they said, he's out there running for speaker. He was literally going around the country campaigning for wannabe Congress people because he was going to challenge Nancy Pelosi for speaker. And he was rustling up votes. Wasn't watching his base. And
so he and Pelosi were not in good.
It was her time, right? He thought it was about time she got taken out a little, and he was trying to round up some votes. And they looked at him and they said, "This guy's been there for 18 terms or something, whatever it was, and he only gets 8,000 votes each primary. Why? Because no one runs against him."
Right.
So if we target 10,000, we're going to win. And I think she only got like 8,700 votes or whatever it is. And Joe Lieberman, if you remember, the former senator from Connecticut.
Yes.
Lieberman saw this, and Lieberman said to Crowley, "I will support you. I will run you should continue to run. You should go to the general election as an independent. You'll beat her." And Crowley just didn't have it in him. And she didn't have a general election.
He was so stunned by what happened in the primary.
But he was targeted.
Yeah.
They knew how many votes he was going to get. They knew that he's been around long enough. No one runs against him. If I get 10,000, I win easily. And they didn't even need 10,000.
Yeah. And I remember thinking at the time, why is he backing down? If he runs as the incumbent,
Lieberman did an op-ed in the Times
to try to get him to do it.
Absolutely.
And he wouldn't do it. That's kind of amazing.
She wouldn't exist today if she lost that general election.
Right. It would have just been considered a hiccup. He fixed it, and he moves on.
Exactly.
And a whole lot of things would be different than they are now had she lost that general election.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was really something. So we're here with Tony Carbonetti, the man who is the psychic in political activity.
How about that?
He knows who's going to win the general election. He's told us who's going to win. He's got a very good idea of what may happen in the presidential, and you'll get to hear even more of his wisdom right after we take a moment out for these important commercial messages. Right here on WABC 77 on your radio dial. This is The Left versus the Right, and we'll be back right after this.
The Left versus the Right on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
As a sports fan, I have to confess, sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Si conoce a alguien que vive de forma ilegal en Estados Unidos, pronto lo volverá a ver, porque volverá a casa. Me llamo Kristi Noem, soy la secretaria de Seguridad Nacional de Estados Unidos. Puede evitar problemas descargándose la app CBP Home y deportándose de forma segura. Recibirá ayuda económica, un vuelo gratis y la posibilidad de volver de forma legal. Si no lo hace, lo encontraremos, multaremos y echaremos a la fuerza. Bajo el fuerte liderazgo del presidente Trump, nuestras leyes se cumplen y nuestra frontera es segura.
The left versus the right.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back on the left versus the right here on WABC, the number one station in New York, the number one station in the United States, and according to the owner, John Catsimatidis, the number one station in a few galaxies. We are with Tony Carbonetti. We're talking about the political scene these days, who's coming, who's going, who is not working hard enough in their primaries and getting taken out, and who is finding ways to win when others thought they couldn't. And Tony, certainly to that end right now, what happens to the assemblyman when he loses in November?
Hopefully he goes back to whatever rock he crawled out from under.
Because, he's still in the assembly, so he doesn't lose his seat.
Go try to socialize someplace else. Leave us New Yorkers alone. Okay? We're a great capitalist in New York City. The great thing about New York City is you have billionaires that walk amongst us. And they're like the rest of us. They live and breathe in New York City. They come to work in New York City. The great thing is they pay for most of us.
Right.
The actuaries can actually do the numbers and tell you the tax breakdown and the whole 9 yards. But you know what? Look at the parks. Look at the schools. They're funded by philanthropy in New York City. A lot of the museums, that comes from the fact that these billionaires came here, made a lot of money, and they give back to the city.
Want to give back to the city that helped them get to where they are now.
Look at the United Nations, okay? The United Nations, that land doesn't belong to the city. You know what it belongs to? Rockefeller.
That's right.
If the United Nations left tomorrow, that land goes back to the Rockefeller Foundation. But back in the day, Rockefeller was the most prominent New Yorker, right? And the UN wanted a place to be, and you can have this land as long as it's the headquarters of the United Nations, you can have this land.
Can't change it to anything else.
Nope. Nope.
That's, I knew that, and I forgot that.
I found out when Mayor Giuliani threatened when we threw Arafat out of Lincoln Center, and the UN threatened to leave. Rudy's knee-jerk reaction was, "I'll put Yankee Stadium there." And I get a call from the law department saying, "Someone tell the mayor it's really not city property. It belongs to the." I'm like, really? Yeah.
Oh,
found it out by accident.
That's something. Now, in terms of just talking about the other things that may happen, whichever way it goes, how do you think this year has certainly motivated a lot more conversation among people about government, politics, and quality of life? What do you think happens as we go forward?
Well, historically, we're a lazy population. When things are going well, we don't pay attention.
Right.
We assume that's how it should be. I tell people things had to get really bad for Mayor Giuliani to get elected. And hopefully we never see that type of bad again. There were 2,100 murders in New York City. Last year I think there was 400.
It was 7 murders a day.
Okay. 2,100 murders. It was an average of 2,000 a year the 3 years leading up to his election. And that was bad. And I hope we don't get that bad again. And people then finally said, you know what? Let's just give the damn Republican a shot because nothing else seems to be working.
Exactly.
And remember Patrick Moynihan?
Sure.
Great senator. His phrase was defining deviancy down. And it was, we had just come to accept that this is what it was like. We were so beaten down. We accepted that you couldn't go out at night. You couldn't ride the subways. It wasn't safe to be in this neighborhood or that neighborhood. and it was just accepted. And, you know, it took a Rudy to come in and say, let's try something different. But in order to get him elected, things got really bad. And I don't want to have to get that bad again to elect someone that's going to come in and do things differently. And, you know, the different is not socialism, because you can't show me any place. You know, Governor, what was the name of that incredibly successful socialist country? I can't remember the name of it.
There was no name.
Exactly.
There's no country.
Okay. So it's not socialism. It's, you know, give me a guy that knows how to run the city, that's run a state before. And that's what we need.
And, you know, it is such a easy history lesson. People in Cuba were tired of Batista. Castro made out like he was for everybody. In the end, he was for himself and his brother Raul. You know, and in Russia, it happened before Russia became the Soviet Union. Same thing. And Stalin takes over. And so this is not a suggestion. This is actual history involving real people who, for some reason, the socialist concept doesn't work, because you would actually want everybody to be for everything except themselves.
Well,
and what you got was the reverse.
The free bus sounds great, doesn't it? So let me tell you, right now, the New York City bus finishes its route. It gets cleaned and prepared for its next shift. And then every 30 days, every 30 days there's a maintenance check and a safety check. That's because the MTA is funded by your $2.90 every trip. Now, let's say that money doesn't come in. Okay? Well, okay, we're not going to clean the bus every day. Clean it every other day. And then every 45 days, we'll do a maintenance check.
Right.
And now you get on the bus, and it looks a little dirtier, and maybe it's a little slower, and they're running late. But you can't complain. You know why? It's free. When it's free, you've lost the ability to complain. When you pay your $2.90, you have every right to complain.
Exactly.
Okay? When someone gives it to you, what are you complaining about? I gave it to you. You know, that's the slippery slope that these people don't understand. You get what you pay for, as they say.
Right. And that's, and the idea of the actual city running a lot of these things, the city has trouble running itself.
I was just going to say, who's ever said, you know, I know this isn't working well, let's call the government, have them come do it.
Yeah.
No one's ever said that.
Right, because it never works.
Right.
And really, we are very close to that eventuality right here in the city right now, with some of the issues that we had in the 70s starting to come back, and most notably crime, and you know juvenile delinquency, gang activity, all kinds of things, and the prescription has already been filled in the past, and that's why we're able to bring the city back.
There's a playbook.
Why are we letting it go now?
Yeah, there's a playbook to follow. And you know this. If someone scrawls graffiti on the subway train and you don't clean it day one, the next day someone else will do it.
Right.
But if you clean it and then someone does it again, you clean it, you can keep cleaning it, and you show them, every time you do it, I'm going to clean it the next day. They get tired of it. And they go away.
The thrill of it
is gone because no one can see it. Okay? The thing government does have is the ability to beat them back and clean it every day. But you have to stay on top of that. You fix the windows. You stop the crime. You pave the streets. You pick up the garbage. Well, actually, you know what? I just got back from London, and this is becoming a pet peeve of mine now.
Okay.
I had not been to London in about 6 years. And I have friends that tell me London is the greatest place, and I'm the obnoxious New Yorker. No, New York's the greatest place in the world. That damn city's clean.
London.
The streets are clean, embarrassingly clean.
Oh.
I was walking around saying, "Oh my God, are we just slobs?"
I wasn't sure what you were going to say at first.
Embarrassingly clean. I don't know. I got to figure it out now how that happened and continues to happen. But we need to do whatever they do. We got to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even parts of the city that were generally considered to be pristine, the Upper East Side, Riverdale, different parts of the city. Even now, when you go there, you start to see the beginning of decay. Garbage on the streets, just...
It's a lack of retail, too. Some of the, these major, like 86th Street, 34th Street, the retail not being there contributes to the darkness and then the litter starts, and it's like it just festers upon itself. The city, we need economic development. We need to become that vibrant city, and we need to look out for each other. There needs to be the peer pressure of don't throw that on the ground or don't,
exactly.
That's what the city had during the Giuliani years and then the Bloomberg years that kept it going. There was that kind of peer pressure too. We all have to pitch in and do well.
Well, we certainly better start thinking about it now, because it's the decay is spreading, and I think more and more people are noticing it. And that's why I don't understand who is polling these people that think the solution is to give it to somebody that actually wants to add to the problem by the other day. Another thing he suggested is that there would be no more graffiti. That won't be a...
That's not a crime anymore?
No.
This is my point. Like who comes and what's the constituency for that? Who's sitting around saying, God, you know what I really miss, Governor? I wish there was some good graffiti on the wall.
Good graffiti on the wall over there.
I needed something to read. I mean, what's that? Who are you serving with that? It's the public. I mentioned to you before, the public urination. Under that genius de Blasio, they decriminalized public urination. They sure did. Who thought that was a good idea? It's a crime to pee in public, and the cop will arrest you. Oh, that shouldn't happen. Maybe just give you a ticket. Really? Why? So you can pee in public? Again, who thought that was a good idea? What's your constituency there?
And that's, something that it gets to the point where people start to accept things like that.
Because they made it legal.
It's one thing when someone goes behind a building and then comes back out. It's another thing when they just do it right in the middle of the street. Right, exactly. We're talking with Tony Carbonetti here. We're on the Left versus the Right on 77 WABC. I'm David Paterson, your host. And what are you doing these days when you're not in government running things?
I have 2 daughters and a wife that consume most of my time and money. And I'm very proud. So I have one daughter who's a junior at Villanova Nursing School. And my oldest just started Georgetown Law. I'm very proud of both my girls. They're a lot smarter than Daddy ever will be, So I love them to death.
So how's the empty nest working out?
It's not completely empty because my wife is constantly visiting them. They're close enough where it's almost like, Governor, I left my blouse and my wife jumps in the car and drives it down to Philadelphia. Yeah, so we're not fully, and we find enough time. I go to D.C. a lot. I went to a Sixers Knicks game last year. And I've been deprived though. Okay, so Georgetown and Villanova. I've gone 6 years total with no NCAA tournament games. I'm very upset about this.
Oh, wow.
And I made my oldest watch Hoya Paranoia and Patrick Ewing before she went to Georgetown, and we didn't get a whiff of NCAA, nothing. They're beaten down, Villanova's not, but they went 2 straight years so far without being in the tournament, so we got to fix that.
Yeah, that's...
take my daughter to a tournament game.
And Georgetown...
They're just this whole NIL thing has ruined college sports. I believe that's also a different conversation we could spend hours on.
We'll have to do that because the college basketball mania, I would say, from the beginning of the 80s, was frantic.
Exactly.
Everybody
and
was.
I think they ruined it. I think it's over.
Yeah. It's not nearly what it used to be, and it's just unfortunate. It's almost like what you're saying about the urinating in public. Who had the idea to rearrange the way that college students play? Who had that idea?
The geniuses at the NCAA did not react quickly enough to this NIL thing, and it's gone from name, image, and likeness to the kids just outright get paid to play now. So it happened very quickly. It took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
You and I should do a whole show on that.
We will. And we've just completed this show. Thank you so much, Tony.
Happy to be here.
Back by popular demand.
You call, I show up.
I think the mail has started to come in even before you've left the studio.
My mother's writing you already.
I get it. And thank you all for listening to Left versus the Right. I'm David Paterson. See you again at 3 o'clock next week on 77 WABC.
Thanks for listening to The Left versus the Right. You can hear The Left versus the Right Saturday afternoons at 4. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?